Sin used to be, in very layman's terms, sin is an old language term for archery. When an archer would hit the bullseye, boom, that's what they wanted. But if they were off the mark, then the person that was judging the thing, they would go, sin, meaning off the mark. As Christians, as people, we try to live our good life, but we always continue to make mistakes. We continue to make mistakes by accident, and sometimes we continue to make mistakes by choice. When we do that, we are off the mark of what the path that we are actually supposed to kind of stay on that keeps us. When you're on the path of Christ and you're doing things Christ's way and you're following Christ, you have strength to battle the things that come at you from this world. You have a little bit more strength to deal with it, a little bit more perspective. It also continues to make you feel loved and joyful when we're completely doing everything. But when we go off the mark, sometimes our faith starts to turn a little bit more into material things or short-term things, or even we put everything into another person to where that person is the soul of what can make me happy, and if that person goes away, then I'm done for. That's off the mark of what we're supposed to be. A lot of people will say that sin is anytime we think of ourselves or that we're hurting another person. Well, all of those phrases actually do mean off the mark. We're going off the mark because Christ is love and sacrifice, humility, and it's doing something for our neighbors, loving ourselves. Going off the mark of that can get us in all kinds of different choices of what we find or define happiness to be. And so it's not about making God mad necessarily. It's more about not being as healthy as we can, and I like to say it's making God sad more than mad, because He wants us to be loved and to know that love, not to go off the mark. I go off the mark about every day. I think that if you best way I can describe this is dieting. My bullseye would be to do vegan whole foods for the rest of my life, not to have any big portion, and I know that would help feed my body, it would help feed my spirit, and yesterday I had a whole big bowl of sherbet. Why? Because I just wanted it. Not good for me. I don't think that you never grab a bowl of sherbet and read the health benefits of sherbet. And you also sometimes feel pretty nasty, or in my case, just guilty afterwards. So there in the diet world, I sinned. I went off the mark. We do that every day. I do that every day with, if you have a judgmental thought, if you have, we all think those things. The first thing to accept is that we all sin, that every one of us does it. We do have a choice of some of the actions that we take from the thoughts that we have, but every one of us does have sinful thoughts that come into our heads. That's where the spiritual practice comes into. If we are continuing to practice and stuff, it can help strengthen us a little bit to where we won't make some of those poor choices, but I guarantee you we still will from time to time, and I do. When I look at Scripture, I read parts where Jesus is saying, no one gets through to the Father except through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. As a Christian, in my core, that's what I believe. That's what defines me as a Christian. I do believe that Jesus is the only way to God. I believe that He is the only way to salvation. Now, that being said, that means that Jesus is the judge. That means that Jesus has the right to say yes or no. That means I don't have that right. That means that all of my judgments are null and void because He's the boss. He's the guy that owns the keys to the gates to heaven. He's the guy that welcomes or turns away. And that being said, I do read in the Bible where Christ is on the cross, feeling betrayed, beaten, scorned. And what he says is, Father, forgive them. Not forgive them, not forgive those people or that guy, but forgive them. For they know not what they do. Even the very people that hung him on that cross, he saw that they weren't aware of the magnitude of what they were doing, and caused them to be hateful and hurtful, and he forgave them. So I think that the forgiving power and the gate that Christ opens is a lot bigger than we might think. I think that's what he's looking for is what we have in our hearts, and whether or not we love, and whether or not we love our neighbor as ourselves. But I don't want to go into too much of that, because those are my words. Christ has his words. Christ is the only way. And so to me, sometimes people ask, Gandhi being a Hindu, is he in hell? He did good things. He acted very Christ-like. My answer to that is, that's up to Jesus, isn't it? Because as a Christian, I believe in Jesus having the say over that. And so for me to say one way or another, I'm in that moment saying that I have the say. I have the power and the way. And in that very, very brief moment, I'm believing in myself more than I'm believing in Jesus. It's not a cop-out to say, I don't know. Ask Christ. It's the way that as Christians, that's what we should believe. And the practice of our faith is to turn it to Christ.